the doctor didn't think it was anything, he just think it
Joe,
was
can
some
you
kind of
ask?
a ligament that.
Not very loud, but I can hear you in the back there, John. For some reason, it kicked me out earlier. I had to relog in.
That was me. I didn't notice you coming in.
Ah, okay.
So do we have a draft one? Okay. Okay. I got it. I got two. Do we have any commissioners for this evening, John? John, do we have anybody remote?
Yeah, Joe, never. There, so. He can hear you.
Can you hear us, Joe?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, but we can't see you.
Should be able to.
There we go. Thank you.
That was John, I think, again.
The AV guy. Which now? Yeah, I got 728 on the computer.
Something you actually get the right time, so
How do you do that? Mine says 742.
you can't. You're locked out of changing the time.
How in the hell did you have a 742 and I have a 720? Mine's better. Mine's faster. Oh, okay. I make bets on mine. There you go. Not always a win. 14 minutes ahead of the rest. You're predicting the future. That's right.
Record.
Okay. One and all, let's call this meeting to order. Pledge of allegiance. Allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Roll call, please. Mr. Perino.
Here.
Mr. Dentley.
Here.
Mr. Harney.
Here.
Mr. Thorne.
Here.
Mr. Hoffman.
Here.
Mr. Nimitz.
Here.
We have a quorum, we have a meeting. Okay. According to the governor's gubernatorial proclamation, we are once again able to have this meeting with the remote attendance by the trustees this evening. And we have with us remote trustee Nemec, The remaining trustees, Moreno, Diatley, Harney, Thorne, Hoffman, are all present in the building with the village clerk, myself, the village police chief, and the village director of finance, along with the village building code inspector. So, and the AV guy. Well, hey, the people gonna want to know who's behind the camera.
Is that a formal title?
It's a formal title. Okay, with that all taken care of. One notation I will make is that this may be the last meeting for the moment that we're allowed to have remote attendance, as the gubernatorial proclamation will expire on March 5th or 6th. And our next meeting will be March 7th. Unless the governor reissues it in the next 7, 8 days, this will probably be it. We will keep you posted and move on accordingly. Minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of February 7th, 2022?
So moved, Diatley. Second.
Moved by Diatley, seconded by Harney to approve the minutes of February 7th, 2022. Any corrections? There being none, roll call, please.
Mr. Nimitz,
Aye.
Mr. Hoffman,
Aye.
Mr. Thorne,
Aye.
Mr. Harney,
Aye.
Mr. Dattley,
Aye.
Mr. Moreno.
Aye.
6 affirmative votes, no negative votes, the motion so passes. Okay. President's report. I've told you about the gubernatorial disaster proclamation update. I'm gonna miss that phrase. Then the next one is continued closure of Village Hall due to COVID-19. We're due to reopen Village Hall as of today. Any ideas of keeping it closed, or shall we reopen Village Hall to the public?
I think it should definitely be open by February 28th, Monday, which is when the state
No.
takes away the mask mandate. I have no objection in opening it tomorrow.
Staff comments?
They would prefer to remain closed until the 28th.
Staff remains closed till 28th.
Yeah, that was the last conversation I had with my staff. I'd agree with that.
Okay.
All right. If we could have a motion to maintain the closure of the Village Hall until March 1st, 2022.
Oh,
Moved by Hoffman, seconded by
Second.
Moreno. Any further comments, questions, or discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Mr. Moreno,
Aye.
Mr. Dattley,
Aye.
Mr. Harney,
Aye.
Mr. Nimitz,
Aye.
Mr. Hoffman,
aye.
Mr. Thorne.
Aye.
6 affirmative votes, no negative votes, the motion so passes. Village Hall will continue to be closed to the public through February 28th, resuming normal business hours on Tuesday, March 1st. The other quick thing I want to do is down the table, if I can have a quick sidebar. Ms. Detmer, is your position ready for presentation? I can bring him up forward too.
All right.
I forgot there was a cane on the chair.
You're all right. Not going anywhere.
Just hit me over the head with it.
Okay, well, actually, I've only got a couple of quick things here. I got a clerk's report, now I'm back to you, Ms. Detmer, so.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm here for the
I thought we
duration.
had a little bit longer operation before we got that, sorry.
No, it's quite all right, and I'm here for the duration. It's not a problem.
Clerk's report?
I have nothing to report other than to add that there's been a change in the agenda that was accidentally published showing old business of resolution, I think it's 543. That's been removed from the calendar and will be acted on at some time in the future. So other than that, I have nothing to report.
Okay, newsletter. We do have a copy of the newsletter, which was forwarded to you later this afternoon, or earlier this afternoon. If you guys could please take a look at it, and if you have any issues with it, please let me know. What I'd like to do by the end of the week, let the newsletter staff know that they can go ahead with publication. I do know the service club has asked for a delay. They'd like to get an article in there yet. So that will be taken care of, but as I said, you've all got a copy of it now. Take a look at it. If you see any issues, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll give the go ahead to the newsletter team at the end of the week.
Was it sent electronically, Tony?
Yes.
I never got it.
I sent-
John sent it.
John sent it.
It's under John's.
Oh, to,
He forwarded
our-
from
our CB Hall email?
Yeah. This afternoon or early this morning.
Thank you.
Okay, now planning and zoning. Statler.
The Villages Planning and Zoning Commission met this evening with regard to sign applications that have been, or application that's been received for 1041 West Main Street. And the signs were put up without permit and they were issued a citation. The motion of the Planning and Zoning Commission is to recommend the village board that 2 interior window signs requested be allowed, 1 in each addressed unit of 1039 and 1041, and denial of the other 2 interior window signs and the exterior banner wall sign, as well as the newly installed feather sign.
The recommendation was to
Approve 2
two,
interior window signs, allowing 1 in each of the 1039, 1041, because
okay,
they're using both the 1039 and the 1041 building, but they wanted 4 interior window signs. And they wanted to hang a banner from the roof,
Mhm.
which violates roof mounting, no name of the business, and it moves in the wind. So there were 3 violations on the banner sign. Plus, they've also recently, for photo documentation of the commissioners, have put up an illegal feather sign. They're those ones that look like a feathers, and they stuck it out by 72. That was a new one. They also want that denied and taken down.
so the 2 interior signs are okay. The roof banner is to be removed and the feather sign is to be removed,
Right, and 2 of the other interior signs,
along with 2 interior signs.
correct.
How would they put those signs in there? Well, we're looking at the picture right there. I mean, you've got the door in the middle with a little glass overhead where it gives the address, but then you've got 2 sides of both. So are they going to split it, like put one sign on the far right and one sign on the far left, because they can't get a sign to go all the way across? How are they going to do that?
That will be up to them, how they want to put it in. What they've been doing is putting 2 signs, 1 on each side of the door in each of the addresses.
Mhm.
So they had 4 signs across.
So where you would barely see the inside.
Correct.
Okay.
But the commission was recommending, and again, that's the recommendation. It's up to you folks what you wish to do. Again, the banner sign does not meet 3 sections of the village code. So it's basically, there's no way it could be allowed. Because it violates, it cannot be hung from the roof. It cannot be moving in the wind. And it has to have the business name on, and it does not have the business name on it. It just says COVID testing. So that's why they recommend denial of that part of permit request. They're only allowed 1 interior window sign. But instead of denying and only allowing 1, the commission considered that there are actually 2 street numbers for that building, 1039 and 1041. While it's more than 1 per business, it recommending the allowance of 1 per address. I'm trying to work with.
Are both doors accessible, 1039 door and 1041?
1039 is fixed, sir. This used to be the old KMA facility before they moved further west. And there have been no changes made to the interior or the exterior of the facility.
Okay, we have a some motion to so recommend.
We're gonna discuss later.
Well, we need a motion.
I make a motion that we accept the findings of the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding the signing at 10:39, 10:41 per Ms. Detmer's review.
Second.
Moved by Morano, seconded by Thorne to accept the recommendations of the P and Z in regards to the signage at 1039, 1041 West Main, i.e. to allow 2 interior signs to remain while requiring 2 interior signs to be removed, along with the removal of the roof banner and the removal of the feather signage. Any other comments, questions, or discussion now?
Yeah, question on that. Why wouldn't they want to put a sign instead of the windows? Why wouldn't they want to put a sign or something up top where the others are, above the awnings? Is this something that,
They were
you know,
hanging
is this going to be a fly-by-night group?
Yeah.
I'm asking a serious question because you got a lot of COVID units out there that are fly-by-night. And is this going to be something we're going to generate some revenue out of? Or is it something that's going to be there for 3 months and gone?
We have no, if I may answer, Mr. President, we have no information on leasing details between this.
Why don't we? If they're ready to go in, they're already putting signs up and they're ready to test.
Well,
why
no,
don't we
they're
have any
testing.
information?
They've been testing before we even got involved.
In that building?
Yes, sir. They're testing from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. And they were ordered to take the signs down. They've been operating since early to mid-January, is my understanding. And it took 2 tries to get an application correct in. And like I said, the feather sign apparently appeared over the weekend or somewhere in that area. And the banner at the time I cited them was not up, and apparently it's been up, it's been down, it's been up, so I'm not. But the banner is actually hanging by rope from the rooftop, which is a clear violation of the village's sign ordinance.
I just have a couple of questions. So, I mean, first of all, how do they go into a building like that and start operating without notifying the village or getting anybody's, I mean, even inquiring of
It's
that?
private property at this point.
They what?
They're on private property.
Yeah, but
That's between
don't we
them
have
and the-
control as a village over?
Only when they start putting signs up and coming to us for an occupancy. We cannot form a business license. We're not home rule. So it's without a business license, people can come in as long as they've got arrangements with the landlord. Yeah, until we see them putting signs up or, activity in the building which was not occupied, we ask for occupancy information where we be told.
Can we find, I mean, are we finding them?
They were given a 10-day notice to remove the signs that were there at the time I was on the job site. And they complied with that. However, I've been advised that this feather sign is new, and I did request that they put them up only for the time of being able to take the pictures in order to submit with the application, because they did not quite understand providing the site plan, and it was the easiest way to get the information available to the planning and zoning.
Okay,
commission.
but can we cite or fine the landlord, or can we cite or fine them and let them know that if we get some kind of monetary recourse?
They were
I mean-
advised at the time, because they asked what the worst was, and they said, you can be ticketed and it will be up to the judge. They can assess a fine upwards to $7, and not including $750 a day for every day that they're non-compliant. But that's up to a judge, and we'd have to take,
You have to take
we'd
it
have
to
to
court.
ticket them, we'd have to take them to court and do everything like that.
By the time we give them the time for due diligence,
Yeah, I can understand that, but I'm just,
as I said, we
I'm
give them
just
10
appalled at
days.
the abuse. They just go in there and decide it's COVID and decide to start opening up a business and testing. I mean, that's BS. I'm sorry, that's just the way I feel. I mean, I know we have enough issues with revenue.
They
and-
gave us enough issues when they showed up.
And the landlord should know better.
Originally, they were gonna do it out of a trailer in the parking lot.
Well, they were shut down. That's why the ones in the malls are shut down. They were part of that group in Chicago.
I don't know who they were, but this might have been.
I don't know if this one is, but I know the ones
This
over
is
in the mall.
Plum or somebody like that. We did check them through.
Plum testing.
Plum testing, right. We did have some issues with them, but we did check through with the owners of the lab and the registration with the state with the lab to be sure that these people were,
I'm all for the testing, but I mean, I just
yeah, I know.
blatantly go in and do this in a village and we don't know anything about it.
Well, that's the whole
That's a
thing. They
bunch of
come in,
crap.
they crash in, they're here for 3 or 4 months and they're
Right.
gone.
I mean, that's probably why they're not going to be here long. I mean, hopefully we're winding down and it could be out in 6
Yes.
weeks.
Or 6 days.
Yeah.
So, keeping on top of this and keeping them, with them is a hard job.
Well, like I said, it wouldn't hurt to find them or find the landlord. Seems like the landlord was blatant. I don't care who the landlord is.
Okay, any other questions, comments on the motion?
I just have a comment and I'm wondering, because 1039 is a closed door with no access. Can we recommend that the sign, I know we're going from 4 signs to 2 signs, which is what P and Z recommended. Is there any issue to say, why would we approve a sign in 1039 when we can't go through that door? And just have the 2 signs remain at 1041? It's logistical, I admit, but I'm just thinking.
It's a wider
Because-
spread, Anthony. They got a wider view,
Yeah,
spread the view out.
In-
all right,
in
just a comment.
The first request, or the permit request is to actually have 2 on the 1039 and 2 on the
Right, that's the
1041.
picture I'm looking at.
Yeah, and so
They went to 1 and 1.
that was.
Yeah.
It's up to interpretation, it's per business, but it's also their P and Z was trying to work with them and recommending per address number.
And is the self-defense and confidence and
It's all
physical
there,
fitness still there?
Still there?
it's all there, the landlord has made no changes to that property since
Right.
KMA vacated it.
The landlord's the landlord for that entire complex?
Yes, sir.
Well, the back building,
Yeah.
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 the Dunkin' Donuts.
Right,
and
it's
the
separate.
That's a
other
different
site.
one. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, no further comments, questions, roll call, please.
Mr. Farino,
Aye.
Mr. Nimitz,
Aye.
Mr. Bentley,
Aye.
Mr. Hoffman,
Nay.
Mr. Thorne,
Aye.
Mr. Harney.
5 affirmative votes, 1 negative vote, motion so passes.
Mr. President, there was one more item, if I may.
Yes. Ms. Stedman.
The PNC, is now has basically half new members. And they have requested authorization to set their scheduled meeting for the 2nd Monday of the month. And I know it's not on the agenda because it was an item that came up in discussion this evening, but that's when they would like to meet. So for authorization, so it's on next month or next meeting's agenda for approval by the
Okay.
board, but just so you are aware, everybody can meet on that night. And so it seems like a good night, and they want to get working on the zoning code changes, sign code changes, that kind of thing. So, and they're in on a voluntary basis as am I.
They're looking to meet every month?
Hey, Steve,
Yes, Joe.
Big change.
I believe in the past, the various commissions reports, and they just set their dates and then abided by the Opens Meeting Act. And I don't know if the board ever approved any meeting dates for them.
We did, Joe, at one time.
Did we? Okay.
We did have set meeting dates.
Right, but I mean, I think it was set by them and they just published and let us, I don't know, we didn't really approve
We
it.
did get the blessing of the board.
Okay.
No big deal, but yep. Okay, we'll put that on the agenda for the 7th of March.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
That's it.
Okay, you want to hold around till new business?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so that's it for planning and zoning. Attorney's report, we have no report from the attorney at the moment. The engineer, we have no report. We do have a recommendation for him later on here. The one thing I will make a comment on in the engineer is that it has come to my attention that Jeff and Kyle would like to get the street program for 2022 moving a little sooner this year rather than October 31st. So they would like to, get a move on this earlier in the spring and hope we could get the work done late summer, early fall, and not be pushing, right up to the time they're closing the asphalt plants in October and November. So, as I said, you want to be thinking about it in the next week or two. We'll have it on the agenda on the 7th of March. But if there's any roads or any particular situation with our roads that you're concerned about, you might want to bring it to Kyle's attention. So at least check with him, see if it's not on his radar.
I often wonder why they did it at that time. I mean, a lot of people have asked me that too, but because, is it cheaper with the asphalt? plants
Well,
at that time?
sometimes we end up, we don't know what our funds are gonna be until May or June.
Okay,
And then by the time you put the list together and put it out to the state and allow the bids to come in, you've got to allow another 6 to 7 weeks. So, if you don't go to out until June, then you're looking at, bids being received in July. And then they may not be able to come in until September or October at that point.
yeah, okay.
So if we can get them, looking at this stuff in April or May, we might get them to come in July or August.
Makes a lot more sense.
So sometimes we get stuck off on the end just because we're so limited. They look at us and say, your chunk change will get you at the end of the season. So that I just wanted to let you know. So driving around now with the fall coming in, if there's new potholes that show up, just make a note of them and be sure that Kyle and Jeff know about it. Okay, moving on. Next item is Director of Finance, Warrants. And I would like to thank Mr. Van for the return of the monthly revenue and expense report. I look forward to that every month. I missed it when I couldn't find it to the 10th, 15th of the month.
I'm trying to get it done as soon as I can, and
I appreciate it.
so. Motion for requests for warrants in the amount of $111,000, $111,166.56.
So move.
Second,
Moved by Thorne, seconded by Hoffman to approve the warrants of $111,166.56. Any additions, deletions, corrections, discussion? Being none, roll call, please.
Mr. Harney. Mr. Dattley.
Aye.
Mr. Parado.
Aye.
Mr. Thorne.
Aye.
Mr. Hoffman.
aye.
Mr. Nimitz.
Aye.
5 affirmative votes, no negative votes, motion so carries. Comments from the public. Do we have anyone sign up for comments this evening? Okay. Conrad Ryback.
That's me.
Mr. Ryback. How are you this evening?
Good.
You got 5 minutes, unless you tell me you're here for new business item B,
Which is,
which
Yours.
is, we've got is the Collinborn property.
yes, that's it.
That's it?
Yes.
In that case, I'll give you a couple more minutes.
Would you like to discuss the new business?
We might as well. I wasn't aware you were here for public comments, but we'll get your item up to the top here and you won't have to spend the rest of the evening listening to us.
Sounds good. So I'm the purchaser of a land at 1601 Main Street. We're under contract. It's across the street from Jewel. My intent for that property would be to open a self-storage facility, mini storage, with the office, with the store to purchase boxes, packing supplies, things like that. That would generate an income for the tax revenue for the village. And then also by us building a $5 million facility, that would hopefully bring some more sales tax and property taxes. I cleared it with IDOT. They don't see any objections at this time. They gave us some entry ideas and just waiting for your approval to proceed further.
Well, as I said, this was brought to my attention. The board, I told the board briefly to see if there was any issues with them. The one issue that always came up was revenue. What kind of revenues is going to generate for the village? I understand it's a self-storage, so there's not going to be a lot of retail. You will have boxes and stuff, but it's.
Typically, a facility like ours generates between $35,000 to $50,000 in sales. Then also the facility is bringing, the facility will have about 400, 500 units. That includes neighbors and also people from other villages coming to the facility, and they're using, McDonald's or whatever nearby. So that the goal is to help the village also.
Right. Well, it does take, everybody know where we're talking about, the Collinborn property? Okay, they're on 72 west of the Advance Auto. Yeah, whatever you do to that property, it's gonna be an improvement. It's just been a vacant lot for the last 15 years. Sales tax, I don't see a lot, but property tax would at least be an increase in the real estate value of the property. What about screening to the neighbors to the south?
So can I come up? I just have a couple packets, so if you could maybe just take a look. There's some pictures at the end, and then there's also rendering at the end showing a lot of trees and bushes and fence all the way around. One thing we care about is security. If you go all the way towards the end, we'll show you which property that is. Additionally, I was thinking about the neighbors, speaking with Mrs. Barbara here, and we know that we will have some kind of retention pond. We may have to add, like more screening by doing that. So we would try to position that pond somewhere closer to those neighbors, so they will have more distance. Also, we positioned the storage lockers in such a way that first there will be a fence, bushes, driveway of 20 feet, 25 feet, and then the storage, and then another storage right behind it. So we would limit the amount of storages closer to the neighbors. Although I think I've seen only 3 or 4 homes there, and they are quite far. I think they're more than 100 feet away, if not more than that. But we would take that into consideration. Also, we will take into consideration the way it looks. We'll try to kind of mix it in the area so it doesn't stick out too much, and we will try to blend it in with greenery and colors.
Well, why'd you pick that area?
Just driving by, and I felt like the mall that's there is dead, and I feel that that's going to change really soon with all the multifamily coming up, and I felt like that would be a change soon, maybe within a couple of next years, that in my opinion, that would be more of a multifamily location. So I feel like that could be a good spot.
When you spoke with IDOT, there was no concern of people turning on and off 272.
So let's see
Where are your hours, Bob? People go 24 hours a day?
no. So the office would be open typically from 8 till about 6 p.m. And that's when the office hours are open for every new customer. And then for
Somebody can go 2 o'clock in the morning to take stuff out of their security unit,
no, till 10 o'clock at night.
so the gate becomes locked.
Yes.
So this is a manned office?
This will have employees, yes.
And what about nighttime lighting?
It would be automated. If typically, especially for the back area where the neighbors are,
Yes.
it would be automated. Only when somebody drives by, it will come on. Or we could do it steady but low lumens. So it's not gonna be as bright. Or we can try to face it from the neighbors towards the property, so it's not in their window. Overall, the appearance is great. We put a lot of LED lights in the front, the sign, we make it look very nice. Also, this facility is going to be fully automated, where people have phones, they don't have to punch in a code. Everybody's screened, so if somebody's there past 10 o'clock, we will get alerted, and we will be calling them. If they don't listen, we terminate their lease.
So they can get in after 10 o'clock at night.
They cannot, but if they get in there at 9 PM
Oh.
and they happen to stay there in their locker, we have cameras, about 20 to 30 cameras on the property. We will be alerted either by movement, or we will know that they're still there by not leaving the property. And then we actually will know exactly who that is by them using that phone. And that phone is assigned to a lease.
And how many light poles or lights will you look at having? I mean, I'm sure they're all gonna be LEDs, right?
There won't be any light poles. There will be lights from the building structure. And this facility would have climate control also, where people have to go inside. They don't drive by in front of the facility. So if you preferred us putting climate control in towards the back, so there's no noise, there's nobody really driving up, we could do that. So
Do you have other areas like this that you,
yes.
where are they nearby?
There will be another one coming up in Crystal Lake. Same style facility.
Do you have any currently that are built that?
That are operational?
See what it
Well,
looks like?
so what we do is we build them as mom and pop store, and then typically they get purchased by a nationwide company. So yes, you will see like life storage facility, extra space storage, those are our facilities.
So this one would be branded as one of those.
It will be branded as easy storage, simply storage, and then 3 years from now, they may come in with an offer and say they want to convert it into a nationwide company. So
Could be a U-Haul or something like that, like the one over there. And
U-Haul is across the street, and we wouldn't be interested in U-Haul. That's not our look. They kind of are more agey looking. Ours is very modern, new, very clean. Starbucks coffee, granite countertops, a lot of wood. You see one of our offices there. So it's very nice and pleasing. It's not like U-Haul.
Who's your nearest competitor? Where's the nearest?
Nearest is U-Haul actually. But they
You've got
have
a
no
long
outside
one.
storage. They only have indoor.
Right.
And
You're
it's
gonna have
kind of
outside storage?
both. It will be climate control and
So somebody could leave a trailer there or something?
that's
When
not
you
our
say
primary
outside
focus.
storage, when we say outside storage, I'm a customer, I come to you and I say, I have something I'm gonna store outside, what's the restriction?
Oh, I see. So
Would you
by
store
us
boats
saying
or trailers?
No,
AVs?
that's not our focus because it does not generate a lot of income, but we want to,
There's a place out on 72 that charges like exorbitant amount of money for somebody to keep old cars and boats and trailers in their
outside.
spaces outside.
So each area is a little different. If we have thousands of customers in a year coming and asking to store a boat, then we would ask you to consider maybe designating one area for like.
Well, you just said you're gonna have outside storage.
So when I say outside storage, I mean, you can drive up to a storage locker and the door is on the outside.
Oh,
It's like-
Or you
Like
can
a-
have a climate control that the door is inside of the facility, you walk in through a hallway, and then you open the individual doors inside.
so your plan right now is not to have somebody leave an old junker in your parking lot.
Anthony, could we get something, an ordinance that would, object to that or
Well,
that would
they've got to
prevent
go
that?
through
Let's go
planning
through
and
P&Z
zoning.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
Denver's got to.
That would be something that I can
Comment.
agree. I don't think I'd want outdoor storage there.
No.
And the
This-
only
this-
other
this is
thing, too,
just,
is-
A preliminary to see how it would fly with us as a board. It still has to go to the P and Z and work out all the little details.
Yeah, plus we would also have to, as part of that zoning code change that I mentioned previously, currently, this use is not allowed in the B2 district, and so that would be an area of the zoning code that would have to be changed. He's been very cooperative and willing to work with the village, and I wouldn't foresee any major concerns. He's willing to pay his escrow to get that work going forward. And, I would recommend that it come in as a special use, just so that we have more control, so to speak, with all due respect. So we have more controls on the lighting that, and he's used to working with that. So Conrad's been very, very good about that. And the one positive thing, no, except for the employees, no bathrooms. So we don't have the issue with water and sewage,
Sewage capacity has always been
which
a problem
has
with that piece
always
of property.
been, and we've had numerous requests to develop that particular property and have not been able to do so because of the storage capacity. And this would be an opportunity to improve on the lot, get a business into the village. Maybe not high revenue, but at least some revenue plus improve property taxes under the developed lot.
But we took to get our
Just some
property tax.
observations, okay?
I think my main concern is, and I've seen this in other facilities in other jurisdictions, is as the facility ages and, as it goes on, it's just the upkeep of the facility. I've seen some of these facilities be kept up immaculately, and then I've seen some come into, disrepair. The fences get hit, the doors get smashed in, and those never get fixed. So that would just be a concern that I would have, that the upkeep of the facility has to be kept in, good condition.
That would be our number one thing, because safety and the look, because our intent is to bring customers and not scare them, so.
You may have a lot of customers from Sleepy Hollow because we're a shed-free village.
I love it.
No, I'm serious.
How about boats? Can you say store a boat outside?
That's why they wanted,
Nope.
that's why you were talking about.
You're not supposed to.
Oh, I see. So the reason I ask is we can build larger storages, meaning wider and longer, to allow boats inside, and I'm sure people would love that. Boats,
Well,
motorcycles.
those are the kind of details you can deal with in the P and Z.
Yes, exactly.
Now we know that
Right.
the overall board here is
Oh, yeah.
on board.
Yeah.
So that's what we want to know, so that you can continue moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank
Have a good evening. Okay, back to the trustee reports, roads and parks, Mr. Harney.
Oh, I've got a couple items. The poles and the mounting hardware for the new regulatory signs have come in. And Public Works said they will install them just as soon as the ground thaws a little bit. They'll get them up. And I know the police department is on top of that. I've already recommended locations for them. That's up to their expertise.
We'll look at that again and make sure we get it all set up.
Okay, the other item, trustee Thorne and I and the village attorney have been working on the resolution, and then we're talking about the resolution for village roads right of way. Mark will probably have, as the environmental trustee, he'll have some more comments on that. But we are making progress, and I would expect and can say at the next board meeting, you'll have that resolution in front of you. And if we could put that on the agenda, it would be appreciated, Tony.
Got it.
That's all I have to report.
Okay, thank you, Ed. Finance, Mr. Hoffman.
Not a lot, but just the one with West Dundee. Any resolution there yet? Or are we still accruing?
We're still accruing. We've got a letter off to them with a proposal. We've got to hear back from them.
What are we into, like, we've been accruing since I came on board,
No, August, I believe.
Yeah.
August.
or July, so. All right, just wanted to find out. And then Eugene and I were talking today and looking at the budget review to come up soon, for this year. And a couple things that I had questions about too, which I guess just happening recently, and just want to make sure that we've got the funding there, or how we're going to budget. But with the economy going crazy right now, especially with oil and gas and all that, I mean, do we have, Chief, where are we at with our tanks, with the gas tank?
Well, I'm learning more about installing fuel tanks than I thought I ever would. I guess I have a retirement job when I leave work. So we've got the agreement with the company as far as where the tanks are coming from. Then we started working through the issues with the fire marshal to make sure that our site is in compliance. I'm actually meeting a gentleman from Stenstrom, company called Stenstrom, which they do all the site approval and design work for some of the major gas stations, Costco and things like that. He's meeting me out here tomorrow to make sure that our site will accommodate what we're trying to do. I explained it to him, I showed him pictures. He thinks we won't have a problem, but I want to make sure that everything is completely on board. Once that gets worked out, it's just a matter of getting the pricing from their electrician to hook everything up. And then the tanks are ready to go. As soon as we're ready to sign the paperwork, Arnie Berg with Warren Oil is ready to go.
So we could have them installed by maybe April or possibly, or would it be later?
Shooting for February, so.
Well, you got a couple days.
I would hope before May 1st at the very, very latest, yes.
Yeah, because today, I mean, I'm very familiar with WTI and the oil indexes and stuff like that from work before. And following that today, I mean, some of the indexes were talking that we could hit five and a quarter a gallon, maybe 5.50, by mid-March right now. And we're already getting close. So with that, the only reason I brought that up with Eugene today, are we going to have to move funds around, or how are we going to have to do, or will we have?
It depends on what he's talking about for those tanks. I mean, we were looking at the expense for electrical.
Correct. The tanks
While
are,
we were
the tanks are
looking at
being basically given to us.
Yeah, but I mean, we're going to get hit pretty hard with
Oh,
other
yes.
expenses, ancillary expenses. I mean, the gas and all that. So I don't know if we've got to strategize where we're going to, will we have enough for?
We probably will.
I don't know how long they're going to go on with charging. Guarantee we'll see it real soon.
Yeah, temporarily, I think, we're okay for a while. How long? I don't know. That's,
And how big is the tank, Chief?
We have a 1,000 gallon regular fuel tank and a 500 gallon.
It's pretty good though. 1,000 should last
Yeah,
a fair amount of time.
And they'll have automatic monitors on them so that when the tank gets to a certain level, they get notified and they'll automatically come back out and refuel. So you don't have to worry about monitoring, which is nice.
You'll have automatic monitoring on them.
The company does.
Yeah,
They put it
put
as
a-
part of the pump.
They'll put a Wi-Fi unit on it or whatever. That's what we had, and they come out and do auto fills. Is what they do.
And the only thing I would suggest we do is put an additional camera, and then talk to IT about how we can wire it into our current system. But put an additional camera on the corner of the Public Works building there, facing the tanks themselves, just as an additional safeguard.
And they have locking mechanisms and all that, right?
Yes. The only thing we're not doing is we're not doing the fuel system, which is the computerized system that completely tracks everything, and that would be cost prohibitive for us to do it. But we would never recoup our money that way. So it'll be similar to what we have now, which is the manual pump, and then we'll manually document the amount of fuel we use and things like that. But I'd like to have a camera out there just to kind of monitor it and make sure.
I could look into, let me follow up on that because I've got some very close ties with some companies before I retired. But they do have self-monitoring. They have they're like a little dipstick, and you hook it into one of the holes you would have in the tank, and it just drops down. It's pretty much like a float, but yet it's got a integrated system up top and a Wi-Fi setup, and it can monitor probably that 1,000-gallon tank to within a half of a gallon. And that would not be expensive. And that could communicate to, you could dedicate one computer for it, could be yours. And every time there's somebody pumps gas out or whatever, you know right away. And you know exactly how many gallons, if you want me to look into something like that.
Well, let me find out how much their monitoring system does as well. I know it doesn't give us the ability to assign different numbers to different employees and things like that, so that you can track who's putting what gas in. But their system may already do that as well.
Yeah.
As far as how the system is being used.
This is very basic, but we used it. We integrated it into our point of sale system eventually, but to start with, we just did it with, where we would know it would ping every time. I mean, we were looking at when you do oil out of a tank, you're taking maybe 6 quarts, and that's how accurate it was. It could get it down to almost half a quart, it could tell you. So that's how accurate it was. So it could do a pretty, but I'd look at, I'll make some inquiries and see.
Sure.
Maybe see if somebody will donate one to us.
Absolutely. That's always a good thing.
So, okay.
Okay, anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you, George. Water and sewer, Mr. Nimitz.
No report.
Thank you, Joe. Police and public safety. Steve?
Yeah, a couple things. First of all, I'd like to make a motion that we allow Sergeant Wilson to carry 1 week of her vacation into the first week of May. This is because of a scheduling issue with the procedure she's having done that had to be rescheduled. So it's just a procedural thing. The chief has no issues with it, but would like to get a second on that and approval from the board.
Second.
Hardy?
Got one problem, gentlemen, we don't have it on the agenda. If we place it on the agenda for the 3rd or the 7th of March, which is the 3rd month,
Yes, please.
we'll do it that way.
I'll second it for that.
Preemptive second.
Well, we'll just go ahead and take the vote for that meeting. We'll cut that meeting
That's
short.
a lot of time.
Then we may have the same issue with my next request. As you all have read in the chief's report, we would like to go ahead and we went ordering a new squad car last year. And we said we could do it and forego it, and we went with extended warranties. And we have used the extended warranties for some very big expenses, as Chief has explained to me. But we do need to come to that point where we need to get a new squad ordered into the next budget. The problem is we want to get that moving forward because of production delays, not only with the whole supply chain, but with Ford in general. Get that through. So I would imagine we need to get this on the agenda for next time as well. Is that correct, Mr. President?
Well, what you could do is start a purchase order.
Okay,
Get a purchase order going.
okay. I'd like to make a motion that we.
You don't need a motion
Don't
for
need a
that.
motion, all right.
You just, tomorrow morning, draft up a purchase order
Okay,
and get the, that you're gonna find that is gonna be over $4,000.
right.
So then it'll have to come to the board on the 7th. You've got purchase order, you can let the people know they got PO number such and such.
Okay.
And we're moving forward.
All right. We'll get that taken
Because
care
that is on the agenda item for the budget for next year, if I recall.
of. Right,
We got, you know,
correct. Okay, that's all I have. Chief, you have anything?
No, nothing additional.
Okay.
Those are kind of the pressing issues right now, the fuel tanks and the getting in line for the squad car.
That's all I have. Thank you.
all right, thank you, Steve, appreciate it. Okay, next one, public building environment, Mr. Thorne.
One thing, I'm kind of delighted to report that we've made some progress in trying to get some quoting so that we can replace our website, which I had really worried that it was going to be hideously expensive. As it turns out, all of the design, installation, and all that stuff is actually done without immediate charge. And it's about somewhere around, and Eugene can probably tell me more precisely, right around $3,000 a year for this thing. Which is amazing to me. This is so we're still kind of going back and forth with that. So I expect to have something like that on the budget that I can bring to the rest of the board, but I did want you to know where things stood at this point. So and that's all I've got.
All right, thank you, Mark. Building and zoning, Mr. Carino.
Just a couple things. Ms. Detmer's working on, there's some address issues on Route 72 that are not approved from geographic situation. Okay, so she's going to be working on a resolution update street addresses that are approved through GIS to make sure that the locations are properly registered and noticed. We also had an email from a resident regarding the septic setbacks and building decks and things on the property. And that was gonna be part of a rewrite with one of the zoning codes, and that's being worked on. We should have a resolution that we can review and vote on as a board at the March 7th meeting. We won't put it on the agenda quite yet, Tony, but I'll let you know, or just definitely let you know prior to
Okay.
putting together that agenda. And just a side note, I know we had our presentation by this gentleman. I got some conflicting thoughts about it. I'm not 100% on board with it. I just think that I recognize developing an empty piece of land is important, but I just have some things. I know it'll go through planning and zoning. It'll go through a public hearing, and the one thing that might be, and I don't know how this could play into it, it'll come to fruition or not. You know, we do talk about the fact that we don't allow outside buildings in the village, but the fact that this operation may move forward and may be approved by the board. Maybe there's something where residents of Sleepy Hollow could have some, I know it's a private business, but perhaps there's something we can create or develop or design that residents of Sleepy Hollow, you know, kind of get first crack, or maybe they get, you know, some, in talking with this potential person who's looking to put something in our village, perhaps that he could entice it a little bit, where our own residents could benefit from something like this, which I think could go a long way. The opposite side of that, of course, is I think about, you know, our police force would be more engaged if something goes wrong. I'm concerned about cars pulling in and out off of Route 72. Surprised IDOT said, you know, there's some good ideas, maybe we could do it. And, you know, I've only heard rumors through the birds in my yard that, you know, the mall's getting knocked down and it's supposed to be, you know, this 800,000 unit apartment complex or whatever. Which, well, that's a lot of space over there.
A lot of room in this morning.
I said, forget driving on 72.
Yeah, I know, we'll be worse than I-90 going into the city.
Man, will we see the sun again?
So these are just some of the things that I know it's very preliminary, and I know we'll go through our process. But I kind of have mixed feelings in general about the whole thing. But anyway, that's all I have, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, Tom, Anthony. Old business, any old business come before the board? No old business, move to new business. Item under new business is the approval of the NICOR permits numbers 2186.838 and 2186.839. See your notes, they would like to do some replacement of some cables, or no, gas lines. I'm thinking of another one. One on Van Tassel and one on Thoroughbred. The one item I will bring note is in the engineer and Jeff's letter saying that he had no issues with this. He does note, though, that there is a drainage issue at 106 Thoroughbred. If you all recall, we've spent a lot of time and a lot of money in that neighborhood. We want to be sure that that is not destroyed. That's the only quadrant we've got about letting them have this permit. They've got to be careful over there.
You talking a couple of those before that intersection,
What's that?
a couple of houses before that intersection or something like that? We had a lot to do with
That's,
that.
got some issues over there. So, they start talking about doing some excavating right there along that area on 106 Thoroughbred. We're going to want somebody observing that from the get-go. Other than that, we have a motion to approve the permits for NICOR.
I move that we approve the permits for NICOR to do the gas meter movements on Thoroughbred and Van Tassel as per the engineer's submission.
I'll second.
Moved by Moreno, seconded by Hoffman to approve the NICOR permits. Any further comments, questions, or discussion?
Lake Corps, while they're doing this work, were to mess up, then they're responsible for, and that's part of the agreement that we
Yep.
had in place, right?
That's it. That's exactly, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, no further comments or questions. Roll call, please.
Mr. Nimitz,
Aye.
Mr. Farino,
Aye.
Mr. Hoffman,
Aye.
Mr. Dattley,
Aye.
Mr. Harney,
Aye.
Mr. Thorne.
Aye.
6 affirmative votes, no negative votes. Motion so passes. Okay, we've already taken care of item number 2 or B.
May I,
Yes, ma'am.
on this item,
Okay,
the escrow signature for contract has been signed. A check will be in progress.
and we're just gonna have all sorts of development happening around here, aren't we?
Yeah, he'll be
Okay,
mailing the check in this week.
okay. There'll be something up on P and Z group. Okay. All right, fair enough. Anything else, new business?
Motion to adjourn.
Second, Diatley.
Moved by Harney, seconded by Deanne to adjourn. Roll call, please.
Mr. Farino,
Aye.
Mr. Dattley,
Aye.
Mr. Harney,
Aye.
Mr. Thorne,
Aye.
Mr. Hoffman,
Aye.
Mr. Nimitz.
Aye.
6 affirmative votes, no negative votes. We are so adjourned, folks. So ends the Tuesday. 2. We will be back though on March 7th.
I have this.
Yeah, but 3, 7, 2,
It's all
2.
yours. I hope you think of me whenever you look at it, George.
Yeah, there you go, I will.
My dad's birthday was 1/1/1/1.
1111, wow. That's a-
January 11th. So,